I belong to you. I belong to you. You do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
What's an into an area? Keo, Zamora!
And I always be around when I need some loving, baby. No one else.
Yeah.
Put you down. All my melodies,
I just said all that and I was muted. Sorry about that, guys. Hey, guys, I'm Sai and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show, episode number 127. Today's show is dedicated to Yeovil Town captain Lee Collins, who tragically passed away this week. And our thoughts, everyone at Ace Podcast Nation and the Andy Campbell shows are with his friends, family and teammates at this incredibly difficult time. And it's dedicated to Lee. But Andy, was there anything you wanted to add to that, mate?
Just how incredibly sad it was when the news passed through. You know, I don't personally know Lee, but I know some very nice people at that football club, and I pass my best wishes on from everybody onto the club. It's just a sad time, Si. You know, I mean, I thought 2020 was a bad year. 2021 is just as bad, if not worse, as well. You know, so tragic, and I really hope that things start to improve very, very soon, because you know what I mean, for various reasons, and it's not a place, it's not a nice place to be sometimes.
No, it's not, mate. So yeah, guys, as usual, you can find this show and all our other shows at youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation, and the audio versions of all the usual podcast platforms. And of course, you can also follow us on social media if you want to keep it football. Follow at AC Footy Show at all social media platforms to streamline your experience. Links to everything's in the description below. Big thank you, as always, to Black Diamond Sports for all their support around everything. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages and their website, the links to which are in the description below, and the closing credits at the end of the show. Today's sponsor, as always, Bespoke Financial and Darren Ralston. Darren Ralston of Bespoke Financial giving away a free will worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out. So please check him out and give him a call. Don't miss out on what's an incredible offer. He's looked after Andy for various years with a number of policies, including the critical illness and the injury cover. They are truly top of their field and they provide award-winning service. We are proud to partner with such a top-class brand, and I really genuinely encourage you to check them out and give them a call. But as usual, and as you just saw, I'm joined as ever by the fox in the box himself, David Jones's favourite son, ex-Cardiff and Boro striker, Mr. Andy Campbell. How goes it, my friend? You okay?
Yeah, was so looking forward to football coming back, and then after today, I wish it was tomorrow that the games were on, because today's been an absolute shocker for various reasons in football. But listen, I think what we just spoke about there, and we're on about football results. Nothing today. You know what I mean? Football. You know, I look at the Oval game cancelled today against Altrincham, and I look at all the minute silences before the game, and players have stood there in minute silences. Some of them will have known Lee. Some of them will have played with Lee. Some of them will know the family. Some of them won't want to have had much choice in the matter. And yeah, it'll be such a strange day for some of those players having to play today, this afternoon at 3 p.m. and win, lose or draw, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just a game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Regardless how we say it, how we say it is, and how passionate we are, and how much moan and whinge, but life's more important than football.
Spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. It's one of them. It took the way. I'm not gonna lie. Like, up until a few days ago, I didn't really know who Lee Collins was. I hadn't come across him. But what I am kind of, it knocked the wind out of my sails a lot, because I'm just so fed up, for lack of a better term, of just constantly seems to be this stream of people dying for various reasons over the last couple of years, whether it's people you know personally, or people who you used to know, or people who've helped you earlier in your life or current life, or footballers. And it's hard, mate, isn't it, when it's just almost like a constant thing, which, you know, it's part of life, but
and I think
easier.
I totally agree. You know what I mean? It is part of life, but it doesn't make it any easier. And what comes with it is bad memories from, you know what I mean, that you know, we dedicated Chris Barker, and Lee used to play for Forest Green, and Forest Green put something out, and I you know what I mean, I feel for those kind of lads, because they've been through it a year ago, and they're going through it again. You know what I mean? And it's following. You know, and I know, you know what I mean, the families are involved, and I feel sorry for so many people, and it's just such a strange and awful time for various people who know him. I know people who are good friends with him, who spoke to him a couple of days ago. So, you know, they're absolutely devastated, and they turn to me for help. And like I'd always say to people, that, you know what I mean, if you want to talk to me, just to cry on someone's shoulder, so to speak. You know what I mean? My messages are always open, because you know what I mean, it hit me hard losing Chris. And other people, and you know what I mean, it doesn't get any easier, and I had to speak to people about it. You know, I spoke to you about it, but it softens the blow a little bit, and makes it easier to talk. You know what I mean? It does make it a little bit easier. It never goes away. You know what I mean? But it does make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. Earlier on today, I was listening to, dare I say, another podcast, but I was listening to a friend of the channel, Phil Brown, who's a football journalist. Beyond the Pitch is his podcast. And he's come on my channel before, spoke openly about his things like mental health. His wife passed away and things like that. And like, he's a very big proponent of things like mental health and stuff like that. And he spoke, I believe, a gentleman called Claude from Arsenal Fan TV recently passed away. I'm not sure of his circumstances, so I don't want to sort of speculate on that or anything, but I know that he passed away. And Phil talked for the first 15 minutes of his podcast about his own, you know, issues and mental health, and he talked about Claude, and like, you could hear the emotion in his voice, and I don't necessarily think it was because he knew Claude really, really well, but it was purely because it brings back all those memories and those difficulties. And you said something,
but the story beyond that, though. The story behind that was, I don't know if you've seen the tweet what came out a year ago. And Claude did an interview on Arsenal TV, and his statement was, if I don't have football, I don't have a life. You know what I mean? So football is very important for a lot of people. You know what I mean? And it's heartbreaking that so many people haven't been able to, I wouldn't say go and have this kind of, you know what I mean? You probably can't do Arsenal TV because of what's going on. You know what I mean? Because you can't be in the same room with somebody, so it becomes difficult. You can't even live a half normal life. You know what I mean? And if you don't have a family, and you don't have friends who you can't see, then and you live on your own. I feel sorry for so many people for so many reasons. And you know what I mean? I've just in one breath said that football's not important, but it is for some people.
does help,
You know what I mean?
mate.
But I'm on about
Helps,
results. I'm on about
yeah, of
results.
course.
Some people see football as their life. You know what I mean? Where football's a job for people. It's a job. You know what I mean? It pays bills. For fans, it's more than a job. It's passion. It's life. But when results happen and you lose, and you look at what's just happened, puts things into perspective. So sorry to butt in, by the way.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say, you said just now, like, about when you were sort of struggling a little bit after Chris died, that like you spoke to me, which you did, and you spoke to some other people as well. Like, it doesn't always, like we say a lot, like, if you're struggling, reach out, send us a message or whatever. It doesn't always have to be a medical professional of such. It can just be, and sometimes it doesn't have to always be talking about what it is that you're struggling with. It can be as simple as picking up the phone, speaking to your mate, speaking to whoever, and just chatting about football or chatting about whatever it may be. And then they might say something and you pick up on it, or they say something and you think, oh, and you look at things the different way. Or that might be the thing which thinks, oh, do you know what? I'm going to go and speak to a doctor. It can be anything. But that first step of speaking to someone and just being, I don't know, it's like socializing, but without socializing, because if you're struggling, the last thing you do want to do is socialize. But sometimes picking up a phone can be the difference between feeling like crap for the rest of the day and hours, and maybe feeling a little bit better, and it just perks up your mood or changes the I can't say the word, changes the
Trajectory.
the way the rest of the day goes. And it's it's little things like that. But as you said, my DMs are always open. People can always message me. I'll always try to, I'll always reply, even if it takes me a couple of days. I will always do that. But let's move on to football, mate. Look, internationals, mate, are ruining my season. They
Don't get me started.
All the wind out of my sails for the excitement of the coming to the end of the championship, the Premier League top four, anything which I was remotely excited for a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I'm now like, and then of course it takes. Sorry, I was just going to say as well, we're in this weird position with this championship show. The championship games were on today, but you can't talk about the championship really, other than the results and maybe the odd game, because we haven't seen the highlights of the various games, which it puts us in a bit of a weird position. Like, and we will ask questions and stuff like that.
Going on. I find it really disrespectful. I'll be honest that these footballers, and I'll use one example because I know he played today, and I know he's played 3 games this week. Pookie for Norwich City, he played 3 games and then was expected to play today on Friday, and he played on Wednesday. Yeah. I think that's absolutely, and he has to travel from a different country it's absolutely disgraceful. So disrespectful to these professional athletes and footballers. Premier League get an extra day. Some might get an extra day on top of an extra day. I just think it's absolutely outrageous. You know what I mean? And Good Friday has always been a football day. So FIFA, UEFA, should have been involved in the conversations and either cut a game down and only played 2, and Saturday was the last game, so the players have a week's rest or 5 days rest because it's not a full week. Or, why don't we just got to play Saturday, Monday? Yes, the players will get less rest, but I think players would probably prefer less rest but an extra day before a big game, because let's be honest, some of the international games were friendlies. Some of the national games were dead rubber games, which were non-starters from the beginning. Results in their favour or against them. Where the championship is a league, guts and thunder. It's 100% effort. You know what I mean? And it's non-stop. And I looked at quite a lot of games today and looked at a lot of squads who were away. Nottingham Forest didn't have a lot of players away. Look at the result today. Bournemouth didn't have a lot of players away. Look at the result today. Middlesbrough didn't play their players who've been away for the correct reasons, in my opinion. You know what I mean? People are questioning why didn't the international play, for example, because they've just been away playing a tough game. How can you play 2 games in 3 days? It's impossible for a professional athlete to do that. I don't care what people say; they get paid too much. They probably do get paid too much, but 2 games in 3 days and then another game on Monday. It's just outrageous to expect the players.
especially when there was no need to play 3 international games in the last 2 weeks. They could have played 2 and then only had like a week's international break. It's weird. Sorry to interrupt, like change the subject. I just wanted to address them, and a couple of people said that they're blocked off my Facebook, so they can't send me messages. The Ace Podcast Nation page is open for anyone to send a message to. My personal Facebook page is the only social media page which I've got on Instagram, Twitter and everything, which I keep private. My Twitter is open to everyone. You can DM. It's at Sai1927. Also, the Ace Podcast Nation Instagram and Twitter pages. But my Facebook page, I don't really add people because I get like a lot of requests. I think at the moment I'm going on about 10 requests a day from various people. And I keep that private for whatever reason. But yeah, no one's blocked. I don't think I've blocked. I think I've blocked one person in my life, and that was no one who's in the chat or anything. But anyway, yeah, my problem, mate, is like Pookie it's a weird one, isn't it, mate? Because
I'll just use it as an example because he's probably the most high profile player.
But should his international manager have not played him on Wednesday? Or then, from the international point of view, hang on, why should we be the ones to rest him? Why shouldn't Norwich rest him today? Someone's got to look after him.
There were 3 World Cup qualifiers, and then Norwich are going for the title to get back in the Premier League. Norwich pays wages. It's such a grey area, and they're both right. You know what I mean? So I just think UEFA could have been. Listen, 2 games is ample. You know what I mean? Did we need 3 games? Do we need to cram 3 games into 7 days? I just found it a little bit ludicrous. You know what I mean? Play the game the day before so that it gives them an extra day's rest before this game.
Could today's game
and they've got another game, by the way, on Monday.
Couldn't we have played Saturday and Tuesday instead? Does it? I know, get that it's a bank holiday and it's tradition.
We could have. It's just tradition, isn't it? Though, because people are off, and if people were going to football, it would have been. It's always a full house. They could have done it because of the position we're in. They could have knocked him back to Tuesday because of COVID, so it wouldn't have had an influence. So the FA then could have changed it. I'm not blaming anybody. I'll blame the FA for plenty of things, but this probably isn't their fault for once.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Leslie says here, he said if you had Jim Platt on now, he would tell Andy different regarding playing 3 games. But Reece made a good point as well just now. He said people say about the money and the amount footballers get paid, but also what you've got to remember is one bad injury and their career is over. So do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's 2 sides to it.
It's over as well, by the way. So
yeah, look, I'd imagine and Pookie would feel if he had been. Not saying he was forced to play for Norwich today, but at some point, someone's got to look after the player. Like, did Norwich rest him? Should his country have rested him in the midweek? Someone's got to look after him.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get
refusing to do it.
I'm going to get this information out then on Pookie. So Pookie today played for Norwich City,
and Craig said he didn't play very well either.
Well, a couple of chances. So 24th. So 24th, 28th, 31st, and the 2nd, and today, and Monday, he'll play. So that's not 3 games in a week, by the way. That's 5 games in 8 days. That is absolutely outrageous. Forget about 3 games a week. 3 games a week. You know what I mean? So I'm not arguing at 3 games a week because I'm always used to playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, or Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. I've got no issue in that whatsoever because in between each game is 2 days rest. In between the other games is 3 days rest. So I'm not. Issue. You know, when you've got games Saturday, a Friday, Monday as well, it's asking a lot for players.
Yeah, I just think there's no need for it. Like that's the thing for me. They could have literally cut out the friendly and just played the 2 competitive games, made the international break shorter, given the players a couple of days extra rest, and would that have lost like a lot? Donna, your question about the FA Cup will come back to you towards the end of the show. Go on, sorry, mate.
They're trying to cram in to make games up. You know what I mean? Trying to free time at the end of the season because they've got the Euros. It is what it is. If they've got to knock things back, they've got to knock things back. If they've got to knock their teams out who were in the 150th in the world ranking, throw them out of competition. Some of the games were pointless anyway, Si. You know what I mean? So I just don't get it. Keep the games competitive. Get the best teams in the world competing, and then we can enjoy a real interesting World Cup.
Yeah, 100%. Gavin says Trent Alexander-Arnold got injured in a friendly for nothing really, and he said he was angry as a Liverpool fan, and that's it, isn't it? Like, you're coming into the most important part of the season, and clubs could lose big players. And for me today, I felt like, from what I saw, and I flicked through for a bit, and then I wasn't really watching, but like the Championship games which I saw, there was a lot of tired players, a lot of players not playing the way they have for the last 3 months.
Making
Cardiff,
mistakes.
from what I saw today, were absolutely dreadful.
I thought Forrest was sharper. I thought they defended fantastically well, but their players weren't away on international duty like the majority of Cardiff players were. You know what I mean? And it's not just the games; it's the training as well. It's constant. It's potentially double work on things while they're there. Reece David Evans asked a great question there. He said, "Andy, can you tell us what it's like to be tired before a game? Is it your legs that go, or is it just body aches?" Listen, there's games where I've known to play and I've turned up physically, mentally tired, and you worry about your warm up. You're not right in your warm up. You play the game and you focus on that 60, 70 minutes, and you see people warming up and you're just thinking, "Oh, is that me? Is it me? Is me time up? Is it an opportunity for me to come off? I'll give everything I've got." And it's just so tiring. You know what I mean? Your legs go, your body goes, you make mistakes. People think you're a bad player. People think you don't care, and it's just so not true. You know what I mean? It's just, when you're tired, you're tired. You know what I mean? And then injuries come up. You know what I mean? You can get cramp, you can get little strains. And a game on Monday, then that Monday's gone. You know what I mean? So you can wipe Monday out straight away, because it's at least 5 days to get over a strain. So, you know what I mean? I feel sorry for players who picked up a little dead leg or a niggle today, which will keep them out Mondays.
So whose responsibility is it to look after those players? People like Harry Wilson, people like Pookie, people like Kiefer Moore, people who've played, internationals a couple of days ago and then playing again today. Whose responsibility is it to rest those players? Is it the clubs, or is it should the international managers be using a bit of common sense?
If international sides have 3 games and they're all competitive games, then I believe you got to play your best players. That's simple. You know what I mean? If your country's playing 3 competitive games in a World Cup qualifier, for me, you want to play your best side. Against Mexico, I don't know the team. I don't know if Harry played, if Kiefer played. I don't know off the top of my head. Please, somebody tell me if they did. Did they need to play? No. Should they have played? No. Didn't need to play. And they could have saved them if they were in the plans for the 2 competitive games.
Just
plan ahead. So yeah. So I just think it's a mess, and it needs to be unravelled a little bit.
I just read this side out, and you'll see how many Championship players played in the Wales team, just as an example, against Mexico in a meaningless friendly. So you had Hennessy in goal, Gunter, Kabanga, and Norrington Davis defence, Johnny Williams, Dylan Levitt, Smith, Tom Lawrence, Tyler Roberts, Rabbi Matondo, and Kiefer Moore. So there's a good handful of Championship players. The Swansea defenders in there. Who's Chris Gunter playing for now?
Cardiff.
He's in the Championship.
He's in our League One. He's in League One. So he's
still playing today.
He's League One, so he still played today. Yeah, I would have thought. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Yeah.
Although Craig did just say Kiefer Moore didn't play too much in the competitive games, but in the other 2 games,
is fine. But then but if you know that's going to happen, but you don't know that's going to happen, because let's say Kiefer Moore scored a hat-trick against Mexico, then he's got to play the next game, and then he's got a hat-trick again, he's got to play again. And for me, why have the friendly? Why do you need a game? Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's frustrating.
I'm not on about who played. Why do you need that game? What have you learned? What did you learn against Mexico? Republic of Ireland played against Qatar on Tuesday night, I believe. They drew 1-1 against Qatar. What on earth? What did you need? Why did you need to play Qatar? I just don't get it. You know what I mean?
Ridiculous that is, mate.
It's just,
I don't know where that was played.
Stupidity. If everyone all the way to Qatar play a game.
I'll find out where it was now. Donna just said, did you hear apparently Lee Tomlin's injured himself again by standing on someone's ankle in the warm-up? If that's the case, look,
I hope that's not true.
I've said numerous times that I believe Lee Tomlin's one of the best number 10s to play in a Championship ever, when he's fully fit and motivated and everything. But I hate saying this, but at some point, if that is true and he keeps getting injured and come back and getting injured, at some point Cardiff are going to have to make a difficult decision about whether they need to look elsewhere for a number 10 who can challenge Harry Wilson regularly. But look, I love Lee Tomlin. He's one of my favourite players. And I would say this about any player. If you've got someone who keeps getting injured, eventually you've got a decision to make. If you want to compete, if Cardiff are happy to just, maybe make the playoffs or just miss out every season, then maybe you don't have a decision to make. But if they want to genuinely get back in the Premier League, then they do.
I think you've got a decision to make now. I think the decision is quite simple now. I think if you want Lee Tomlin and you want him flying, for me, wipe the season out, give him the rest that he needs to recover properly, and I mean leave it so to not risk him back. You're rushing him back for the playoffs potentially. That's what it sounds like to me. They're trying to get him back, putting pressure, putting strain on his body. For me, wipe the season out, give him the rest, build him up in the summer, build his fitness up, so when it comes to pre-season, he's fit and flying, ready to go. So he can start
look at the shape he was in at the start of last year.
Fully fit and fledging.
That's what he did when he was for Warnock's last season, wasn't it? I think he came into pre-season and he was in the best shape of his career. He looked phenomenal. He was mentally ready. I was just having a look where that Ireland Qatar game was played.
Didn't say what I didn't say. Normally it would say it would be.
Oh, it was played in Ireland in the Aviva Stadium. That's Irish. The Ireland Stadium. I think. Yeah. But
which is even worse.
Leslie says, "Look at Assombalonga. He's gone to the end of season for free." I hadn't heard that. So that's how much did Middlesbrough pay for him?
He's out of contract at the end of the season. No one knows he has gone. I can't see the club offering him another contract. He cost £10.5 million.
Jesus, for £10.5 million. They only signed him. When was that? When did they sign him?
4 years ago. They signed him about 4 years ago. He's been there about 4 years now. Yeah, they haven't got the money's worth, by the way. So that turns what's that? £2.75 million. Hardly any goals. It's poor. It's a poor return for the football club.
Flipping heck, that's a lot of money, isn't it? Donna says she forked out with 4 Lee Tomlin shirts this year. She cursed us. She cursed Cardiff.
Class. Tickle me that. That's cheering me up. Put me in a good mood.
Indeed.
So I feel sorry for Donna now.
Reece says, look at our club side. We had Jazz Richards injured for a few seasons. Then there was given a new contract, played 2 or 3 games, then was released. And Cardiff have got form for that, and in recent times they've made some weird releases over the last couple of years, but we're not going to get too much into that. Garen Cole says, if we want to get back to the Premiership or Premier League, we've got to change our complete midfield as it's atrocious. Volks and Rolls are too similar. Pack is our best passer, but well past his best. Look, I don't know, I'm a massive fan of both Volks and Rolls, but they are quite similar. However, I haven't always been the biggest fan of Pack, but he's picked up since probably the last 6 months, I think it's fair to say. He's been a lot better. But technically, he's supposed to be the holder, isn't he, of the 3? And
to be honest, when Joe's been wide on the left, he did a great job against Swansea. We spoke how well he played for me. Behind probably Morrison, he was the best player, standout performer for me. Today, Vaux and Pack, they do the jobs that nobody else wants to do, you know what I mean? But when they get the ball, it's about others making things happen, you know what I mean? We're talking about 2 players here who are in a position to do a job. You know what I mean? They're not going to score you goals. Vaux does score you goals, by the way. He does get you some stunning goals he has this season. Pack doesn't get you goals. Pack does a job, he things, but he does his job.
Here's a question for you, I guess. Do Cardiff have to make a decision on Lee Tomlin now or at the end of this season, because they're really reliant on Harry Wilson to be their creative spark? He's on loan for a start, and I don't think Cardiff are going to pay that money for him, because I think Liverpool want a good 10-12 million for him at least. I don't know, but Do you see what I mean? If they don't pay for Harry Wilson, or Harry Wilson decides he wants to play somewhere else, Cardiff are not stuck with Lee Tomlin, but they've got a player who's the only real creative spark in their side who can't get fit at the moment. They've got no other options.
Yeah.
That's a problem. No depth,
yeah, of
is it?
course. No, I agree. You know what I mean? But obviously, they've let Grassel go on loan. Will he return and will he come back? Will he play two up top? Will he play wide? Because they haven't really played as they did in previous years with success. When obviously Murphy one side, Mendes Lang the other. Are they going to go back to playing wide? Obviously, Ojo will go back as well from his loan spell. Will Johnny Williams play wide? Will he play as a 10? You know what I mean? Junior side to their side. I looked at the subs. You know what I mean? Junior Hoyley didn't get on. Josh Murphy came on. Ojo came on. You know what I mean? We had a lot of creativity and a lot of talent who can get wide, a lot of pace, put crosses in the box. On the bench, worked. But every game's different. And the managers sometimes who change things up. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's players who've been away. Obviously, Waters was on the bench. He didn't get on. You know what I mean? Is he the answer? Will he score goals? He hasn't really been given an opportunity. Harris came well at the start of his Cardiff career when he first came in, but hasn't scored regular goals. They've got some good young players in the 23 scoring a lot of goals, by the way. There's some excellent talent in there scoring goals. Is it going to be a young player coming? Have they got the money to go and splash the cash again? You know what I mean? They bought a big signing this year in Kiefer Moore. Are they going to be able to go and spend the money again? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's going to be interesting. Reece says Cardiff never replaced Gunnarsson, and it shows. I think that's a fair shout. Rob Boyle says, if I was to call in sick every other week to work, I'd get sacked. I think whilst it's easy to say that, it is difficult. Football's different because you're picking up injuries in work. So it's not as simple as being injured or ill and then not going to work. If you get injured in work constantly, it's kind of, I think, different, isn't it? It's professional sport.
Well,
but,
this is the thing, side for me. If you turn up to work because football's on the football pitch on a Saturday at 3 p.m. and I don't feel very well, but I still play and I give my best, but it's not good enough, then I get somebody having a go at me, i.e. my manager. Yeah. But also I get 35,000 fans having a go at me as well.
Yeah.
If I'm out having a bad day, I can get through a day. I won't have anybody having a go at me. And I certainly won't have 35,000 people having a go at me as well. So I think, you know what I mean, you take the good with the bad. And I think you probably just swallow it a little bit because it's a great profession. But I don't think I've ever gone into where I've been 100% fit. You know what I mean? I've gone into a game where I've maybe stubbed my toe the day before. I've woke up with a headache. I've got a sore shoulder because I've laid on it the night before. Or, you know what I mean? Or I've had an operation 6 weeks ago and it's still not 100% right, but it's about 8 million. Or, you know, I went into the playoff final. I was probably about 60% fit, 70% fit. Nowhere near 100. But there was no way in the world I was missing occasions like that. No way. And there's players the same bit with Willie Boland played 46 games that year in the league, plus 2 playoff semi-finals. FA Cup players are going into the games like that, not 100%, tired, they're stressed, they're worried. There's things going on. It's a hot day. You know what I mean? There's various implications for everything, but they just give their all, give what they can.
Indeed. A couple of questions for you, mate. First of all, we'll go with Martin. Says, can Andy talk us through the picture this week, which was on social media, of the England under 21s and any memory of the build-up to and the game?
Yeah, I can, of course. It came to my attention, Facebook, I think, with it was one of my memories, and it was 21 years ago or something. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? And listen, it was one of my all-time career highlights. I remember I played against Sheffield Wednesday on the Saturday for Middlesbrough, just scored in the Premier League, and then Steve Gibson pulled me up into Steve's office and told me that I was being selected for the England under-21s in the World Cup, in the European Championship qualifier in Barcelona, in the one-off game against Yugoslavia. Obviously met them the next day. The team obviously speaks for itself. Rio Ferdinand, Stevie G, Frank Lampard, Emile Heskey, Richard Wright, Kieran Dyer, Seth Johnson, Lee Hendry, Jamie Carragher, Gareth Barry,
Hell of
and
a
then
team,
me,
mate.
which
Hell of a team.
I found out I was playing the day before, which is absolutely fantastic. I was playing with so much confidence at the time in Middlesbrough. I deserved to be there. I deserved to play, and I took my chance. I scored the first goal against a very strong Yugoslavia side who had Stanko, Lazio. They had some other good players at the time, and it was a great game. Obviously, we had Emil on the show, didn't we? And Adrian Beverton, who said that was the game that they remember the most in their career because of the racial abuse that Emil took that game. And but for me, phenomenal experience as a player. Loved it, and obviously the caps behind me are things that nobody can ever take away, and the memories, which are just superb. It's fantastic. One thing I probably do regret is standing on the end in that photo. If I was just one in, I might, because I'm still in the end. But no, love that photo, and it's going to be something which will always stay with me for the rest of my life.
Neil Campbell, don't know who that is. He says, "Who's the best player?"
They're together, by the way. They're together.
Are they?
They're
That's
together.
why they did it. Who's the best player? Yourself or your brother both had England caps.
He hasn't got an England cap, unless he's stolen of mine. He's living in dreamland. He's obviously having a couple of drinks tonight, so I hope you have a good night. Those things there speak for themselves.
Yeah, there we go. And Reese says, Andy, have you ever played through the pain? If so, what's it like? Does the adrenaline get you through, or do you rely on injections? And what are the injections like?
A final and the semi-final. But luckily enough, in the semi-final, in the second leg, I was subbing and I didn't get on. But the warm-up, I was in real pain, and the final, I was uncomfortable. But the worst pain I've ever felt in a football match was at my Achilles. Probably about a week before. Didn't train all week. Chris Wilder was a manager at the time. We had to win to stay up, and the gaffer decided, along with me and the medical staff, that I was going to have a cortisone injection in my Achilles to get me through the game. During the game, because that's when my Achilles ruptured. I didn't realise the extent of the damage I did previously, but so the injection really hurt because it went in a place which, if anybody ever gets it done, just say no. Obviously in your Achilles tendon, which is obviously near your heel. And then I played in the game, and it was during the game I was struggling the night before, the morning of the game. Played the game, and about 20 minutes in, that was it. Game over. I was in hospital by 5 o'clock at night, having an emergency operation to save my football career. Playing because it was the right thing to do at the time, but it really hurt. The operation was a success at the time, but I was in pot for 6 months, which was an awful time for me personally as a footballer, and mentally tough. But it's part and parcel. It was just one of those freak accidents, really.
Brutal, mate. So we're going to do a tell me why and two tell me whys in a minute. But Rob Boyle says, on the back of that, Andy, can you have a word with Gavin, as he didn't rate Gareth Barry? And then a few other people chipped in and said the same.
Gareth, consistent for me. I think he was very underrated. I came across Gareth when he was 16. He made his Aston Villa debut, and he played at fullback. Sweet left foot. He was very good, very strong. He dictated games. You know what I mean? I think he's a Premier League record holder for or something. He's
he's the appearance holder, isn't he, for Premier League appearances or something.
And if you watch England play, I know obviously you don't watch England players like as close as I do, but when England played and you had all these stars, the Stevie G's, the Frank Lampards, England ticked when Gareth Barry played because he had that left foot balance. You know what I mean? So he played on the left hand side.
England wasted him and Michael Carrick. They wasted because I've always said Michael Carrick and Gareth Barry would have been the key to getting the best out of the likes of Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard. But for some reason, they did fancy Gareth Barry a bit more towards the end of his career. But Michael Carrick, I think, has got something like 25 caps for England. But he should, I think, I'm not sure if that's the right figure. But whatever he's got, he should have at least another 30 or 40.
Yeah. But he also battled against probably the best of the best golden generation. It's like, I put him on par with the Zabis and Iniestas. You know what I mean? If you were coming across in Spain at that time with those kind of players in midfield, you're struggling to get caps because they're both. You know what I mean? For me, it was just bad timing. But I thought he was excellent. I thought he was neat and tidy. I thought he give you everything he had. He was quality on the ball. If he had pace, he would have been phenomenal.
Okay, Leslie's asking this question. He's like a dog with a bone with this. He says John Stones is crap. He said, and he brushes it under the rug. He said that's his opinion. What do you think of John Stones, Andy? John Stones had a great season for Man City.
John Stones made. I can't hide behind it. He made a shocking error against a poor side, and they scored. But he made up
this
for it. He set the winner up. Yeah, against Poland. He made a shocking error, but the other two games I thought he played. He was excellent, absolutely fantastic against Albania. He set the goal up for Harry Maguire's winner. People don't mention that. He's been phenomenal for Man City. Probably one of the best, if not the best, Premier League defender this season. So you can't.
From Harry Maguire,
overall,
obviously.
you've got to judge them this season, and if on current form, take this mistake out the way. He's been absolutely phenomenal. So he's been the best, and if anybody doubts that, then the facts speak for themselves.
Leslie says he wouldn't do it against the top team, but he's been doing it against top teams week in, week out all season for Man City. So
exactly.
I'm not a massive fan of him, but I think what he's done this season, not so much about related to his form, but what I think he's done this season is the last 2 seasons he's taken a lot of criticism because he hasn't been up to the standards he set in his early and his younger career. What he's done is gone away, trained hard in pre-season, a short pre-season as well, by the way, and come in this season and got his head down and done the right things.
He's had a point to prove.
Basics.
He's had a point to prove, Sion. You know what I mean? All you can do is dominate the opponent he's playing against. The other day, he took his eye off the ball. He made a mistake. In a week, I don't know if it's midweek this week or next week, they play Borussia Dortmund, so you'll play against Haaland. Don't get any better than that. So let's judge him on that. And if he shuts him out for 2 games, or then surely he's a good player.
Yeah, I think so, mate. There was something else I was going to ask you. Oh, your brother said he played twice for England B, I think it was, and he said he scored a goal in both.
He didn't mention that. He didn't mention that, did he, on the show? He did. I'd have to go through the whole thing, but I don't think he mentioned it.
He also says, did you have the chance to play for Scotland?
I did. I had contact to play for Scotland. Conversations, but once I'd made a decision, listen, you know how passionate I am about my country, and I thought I was good enough to play for England. But at the time when I realised that I played for England under 21s, obviously rules were different than they are now. And obviously when I realised I'm behind Emil Heskey, Michael Owen, just those two was enough for 10, 20 players who were ahead of me as well at the time. So I was fighting a losing battle, so to speak.
Spot on, mate. I don't know. So Kay Charles asks a phenomenal question, and I really like this question. He says, do you think Phil Jones' career is basically over when he does leave United? He's getting $100,000 a week plus sponsorship, and he hasn't played a game of football for about 3.5 years, other than the odd half here and there. I just don't know what they're doing. Don't know what he's doing staying there. Don't know what they're doing keeping him.
But I think the answer, to one of the answers to your questions there was, what's he doing staying there? Is no one else is going to give him the kind of contract that he's getting at that club, so he's going to stay there as long as possible. He will get another club. He'll get a very good contract out of it. Clubs like Newcastle United, for example, who will be desperate for a centre half of his calibre. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they're going to pay him $100,000 a week, but he will come close to that.
He won't be short of cash, will he, mate? Let's be honest.
No, so you know what I mean. So it's, and listen, that's why you get players. That's why you get players who retire at 30, 31, 32, because they think, well, they don't need the money anymore. So it's an easy decision to retire and just go and do something new, or go into the media. You know what I mean? Or do something different. It's very easy.
He is 29 years old. He's been at Man United now for 10 years. In those 10 years, he's only made 165 appearances. So someone who's far better at maths than me will divide that up of what the average is per season. But I would say he's made a lot of money, millions and millions of pounds. If it was me, I wouldn't be happy with it. I would have left probably 2 seasons ago because not the last 3 managers haven't fancied him when he was fit. Fergie thought he was going to be the next big thing, didn't he? He thought he was going to be the best defender in Europe when he was younger, but
Si, on that though,
fulfilled that potential of he.
If he leaves 2 years ago, if he leaves 2 years ago, that's £2.4 million he loses. He's not stupid.
Yeah, but I understand that, mate, and I do, and that's a lot of money to me, to you, but like, he's not going to sign for someone else that earn 16 grand a year or whatever, you know, what the money which a lot of people live on to feed their families. He's going to be going on at the very, 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 very least. He would get that per week.
But he'll go and do that as well. So he's the one who wins, doesn't he? Really, you know what I mean? So he doesn't really lose out. One thing I want to pick on, and not pick on, by the way, pick up. Leslie put there, I will judge and I will be back. Right, when John Stones keeps Haaland out in the first leg, I'll be back, and I guarantee you, Leslie, you will not come on there. You will not be on the chat then, will you? So let's see. It goes both ways.
John Stones.
It goes both ways. It goes both ways. So if Man City go through because they don't let many goals in, if he doesn't make a mistake and he plays well, then he's done his job. You know what I mean?
He's prone to a mistake, mate, isn't he? It's going to be a fascinating battle.
He's had one.
Yeah, it is going to be a fascinating battle. Right, tell me why. 60 seconds to answer these 2 questions, mate. Switching it up a bit this week because of the internationals, but tell me why, because I've got two really good questions. One of them coincides with what we were just talking about as well. Okay, so the first question, mate, is Eddie Howe is in talks with Celtic. I would like you to tell me why he is a good fit and why he isn't a good fit in 60 seconds. Your 60 seconds starts now.
I'll try and do half and a good fit. Eddie Howe's a good fit for Celtic because I think he'll get them play a different way. I think he'll get them playing an attractive way of attacking football. I think he'll bring in some nice, neat footballers. He'll get him passing the ball, moving the ball, attacking in numbers. He'll bring a freshness. He'll bring some, and I think he'll bring some exciting stuff with him as well. And which will bring new signings. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if they've got the money, which will help with that. But then what comes with Eddie Howe at the minute is he hasn't had a great time currently or previously. They've been relegated, so he'll be potentially lacking a bit of confidence. He's got that losing mentality. He's going into a club with a losing mentality. You know what I mean? Because they've had a poor season. They haven't got the results and things to catching ranges that they should have done. So there's pros and cons, but for me, the pros outweigh. Eddie Howe will be a success in Celtic because I'm not sure if Stevie G will say. So it'll be a good battle if he does. Eddie Howe versus Stevie G.
Time's up. I think a good fit for Celtic would be Frank Lampard.
Yeah, possibly.
I think I agree with what Gavin says there and what you said a little bit. I believe that Eddie Howe is too good for Celtic. And my worry, if I was Eddie Howe, is Celtic is a rebuilding job. For me, I think he'd be better off going somewhere in the Premier League and doing a good job there. But, I
just don't know where those are for me. I just don't, you know what I mean? Because let's say the Newcastle job comes up, for example. You know what I mean? 52,000 fans each week, but it's a poison chalice because it's a tough job. You know that. The Spurs job, is that going to come up? Are you waiting for a job to come up?
Yes.
How long do you wait?
So, just before I do the second question, I just wanted to make note of Garrett's point. He says, one of Phil Jones's problems, apart from his injuries, is that he's really versatile and he can play in so many different positions. The managers will often sometimes get it wrong, and they don't play him in his best position. And that there is probably something to that. He's played centre back, he's played right back, left back. I think he played up front once. He's played everywhere, and I think sometimes that can be a problem.
Should be sub then. He should be sub and coming on every week.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
He's not. You know what I mean? So I'd swallow that if that was true. You know what I mean? I do believe.
Like Phil Neville was on the bench every week, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he came on right back one week, centre midfield the next, right the other side. He was Mr. Versatile, and that's what Phil Jones is. But for me, if you've got a versatile player, surely he's your first person on the bench because it doesn't matter who you have for everyone else. Good shout.
Martin says John Terry for Celtic. I'd love to see John Terry or Frank Lampard.
Martin might know. Martin might know, and if he does know, he's kept that quiet.
Because I'd love to see Gerrard and Lampard really get into it in like an old firm derby. I think it would be real good. Like, thing. Oh, your brother just asked me a question.
He's on one, isn't he?
There we go.
He's on one.
He's on one. What would you do in Phil Jones's position? I think it depends. Then it depends what's on offer. Like, I think someone would sign him, even if it was a top championship club. And if I'm getting 50 grand a week more, like 50 grand a week or up, then I could probably live with the wage cut if he's fit. If he's not fit and he knows he's never going to be, if he's got some sort of injury which is like reoccurring and he knows that he's never going to play 30 games a season, then I would see out my contract with United. And by the way, I think United gave him an extension because they don't want him to go for a free. So I fully understand him staying there, but it just seems like such a waste of talent.
I also see it from a personal point. He's playing for Man United. Does it get any bigger than that? You want to do that for as long as possible because anything else.
He's not playing though, is he?
It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? There's players who without playing many games, and you know what I mean.
He needs a job for West Ham or something like that. You know,
probably not. You know what I mean? Because of the way the West Ham play. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think
his ability is in question. Like in terms of he's a Premier League footballer. I believe he's good enough to be a Premier League defender. It just depends who
you play. It just depends who you play with, don't you? You know what I mean? Because listen, we're having this debate now about John Stones. You know what I mean? John Stones has a partner like Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire goes and attacks the ball. It leaves John to play on the ball. We do have two players who play on the ball and don't attack the ball. Then one of them's doing a job that they don't want to do. So it's about that partnership, and you know what I mean. You've got to find the right partner. That's why centre forwards have good partners together. That's why fullbacks and wingers have good partners together. That's why centre midfielders work well together. Find that right partner, and that's why we say who's the best player you played with. Oh, I love playing with this person because
partnerships.
He made me look. Yeah, and that's all it is. You know what I mean? I don't think Man United have ever found a partnership at United at the back since Vidic. So
yeah, I agree completely. By the way, mate, just looking at this question from Matthew Angel. This is a belter of a question. I really like it. He says, "Wouldn't Phil Jones's agent be onto him to get a move because the agent's going to get more money if Phil Jones goes and moves to X, Y, or Z, isn't he?"
Potentially not, no, because Phil.
What do they get? Do agents get a percentage of the player's wage, like per week or whatever?
Phil Jones will. If Phil Jones signs a new contract, he'll get a percentage of the £100 a week. That's going to be more than down the road at £50 a week.
So how does it work? Do they pay like the agent like a yearly fee, or do they just give them a bit of the weekly wage?
Different clubs work different ways, but an agent, the fee of their contract, a percentage of their contract.
Yeah, Leslie just said he sent you a video of John Stones versus Poland. He's taken this analysis to another level. Right, tell me why. The second question is, Pep Guardiola has said today or the last couple of days that Man City cannot afford to replace Sergio Aguero. And my question is, if Man City can't afford to get a Haaland or likewise, how on earth is anyone else going to? And has COVID killed the money train of football at the top level? I hope not, because I want BBC Wales to sign up.
I watched that interview today from Pep. It was a live one today, and I don't believe a word he said. I'll be honest. That they're not going to sign a new centre forward. I don't believe him. He said that they've tried this season with a false nine. They've played different players up there. They're going to try different things during the rest of the season, which is fantastic. But I think they'll sign a player because of the figures are getting branded about as ridiculous. You know what I mean? It won't be a Lewandowski because the figures are ridiculous. But I believe they'll bring somebody in, and whoever they bring in will suit the way that they play. For me, I'd go and push the ball out a little bit for a Harry Kane, because I think the way that somebody to hold the ball up with the runners they've got left, right, and centre, it would be perfect for Harry to play in that position.
Yeah, that's 10 seconds to go. I'll let you off there. I saw something, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, and this is why I think this interview came out, which said that Man City were favourites for Haaland, and they were going to pay him something like 600 grand a week, and 150 million or whatever fee. And I was like, that's why that interview's come out, because when that comes out, listen, it just means like clubs like PSG and Madrid and all the other clubs who are talking to Haaland's agent, they're just going to up their bid straight away, and it just drives everything up for Dortmund and for the agent and for the player. He's going to go for mega money, and rightly so. He's so young and he's got an incredible record. But for me, like, if Man's, I don't know. I saw today Aguero might go to Chelsea as well, which I think would be a really shrewd signing by them.
I can't see him staying in England, to be honest. I'll be very surprised.
Apparently, he said he wants to.
Really?
I'm sure I saw that today. Yeah, I'm sure I saw that today.
Must be the weather. Must be the weather.
Yeah, well, Manchester weather's quite renowned for it now. Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see what sort of money's flying about, because you've got a few clubs like United are in this weird position where they've got if they give Solskjaer 3 players, world-class players, and give him the money for them and sign him, and then that's it, the ball's in his court then, because they've backed him. At the moment, he's got this excuse that they haven't really backed him. They've bought like these players who could be good in a couple of years if he develops them. Like, it's interesting. And I think if Liverpool going, they're not going to have another season like they've had this season where they've been rubbish. And then you've got, Spurs, you never know what they're going to do. Arsenal are happy with trying to get in the top 4. But Chelsea now, if they backed Frank Lampard the way they did, they've now got one of Europe's most highly rated managers in there. Why wouldn't they back him? So if Chelsea are going to be rejuvenated with a top-class manager, like clubs like United, Liverpool, they have to spend in the summer. And Man City are going to win the league anyway. Liverpool and Man United, I believe, have to spend big this summer and sign, not just spend money for the sake of it. They've got to sign 2 or 3 top-class players who can slot in and go.
I'm just worried. I'll be honest. I'm not sure there's that much finance available to sign that many players. You know what I mean? Unless they sell that money internally. You know what I mean? I look at Aguero. We just spoke about him there. I believe he'll go over to America. For me, the MLS. I'm not sure which team. Will he go into Miami to fill Neville's side because David Beckham's there? They're obviously signing a couple of English players. I believe Kieran Gibbs is signed at the end of the season. So. You know what I mean? People are making moves over there, so it could be an interesting one. But I believe he's earned the right. Someone like Aguero has earned the right to go and enjoy his football in a different country and have a life outside of football. I'll be honest, I can't see any Premier League side spending that much money on that many players in the summer window, because I just don't think there's going to be that much available. I think the following year, I think they will, but. I'm not sure if Firmino will still be in the job, because he's done a great job this year.
What? Sorry, mate. You cut out a bit then for me. So I just missed the end of what you said. The transfer window is going to be fascinating, mate. In all these different angles, the Championship, which clubs are going to have money. Ultimately, I think if it comes down to it, and United needed to find money. They can, they have the money. The Glazers just don't like spending it on football. They prefer to have all these sponsorship deals and say we're the biggest club in the world or we're the richest club in the world. But they don't want to spend it on footballers. They're happy to get top 4 and that be it. they don't want to push the boat out and get a Jadon Sancho, or they didn't want to push the boat out for Jude Bellingham and all these different people who would have made a difference to their squad.
I'd sell.
They want to get them cheap.
I'd sell to here.
Damn right.
I'd sell Pogba.
Yeah.
And then I'd as a manager,
best
I'd
part
go
of 200 million straight away, though, mate.
And on top of that, I'd say to the owners and chairman that I'd be willing to sacrifice these two players if they back me to sign someone other at the same price. You know what I mean? So if they put 100 million in, sell those two so we could spend the money and just players and just move it together, because they've got a goalkeeper to take his place. In my opinion, I think he's a very good goalkeeper. I think
one of the best backup goalkeepers.
He'd progress along. He'd progress on. I think selling Pogba wouldn't be a disaster. And they've got enough players. Even if they're Jesse Lingard back into the frame, you know what I mean? They've got enough players. So for me, they'd reinvest it. You know what I mean? They could go and get two players for £50 million each.
But what they need to do is they need players who are there who can make a difference at the top level. They need players at the Bruno Fernandes level, not at the Dan James level, where they're trying to build him up over 3 or 4 years so they can then sell him on.
Yeah, but what did Fernandes cost? Was he 36 or something?
Yeah. It's doable.
I mean, so that's 36
they quibbled
million.
over agent fees for Haaland, and they quibbled over a couple of million for Jude Bellingham and Jadon Sancho and all these. When they've missed out on those 3 players, it's not because they didn't want to pay astronomical fees. It's that they were trying to get it. They wanted Dortmund to drop their prices so that Ed Woodward can come out and say, we signed Jadon Sancho for 15 million less than what Dortmund had publicly said they want, instead of just going in there and paying it, getting the player in. And that's why, for me, Solskjaer's always got a surprise, always got an excuse at the moment, because they haven't given him the players he's asked for. And when you've got that, it's always it's an excuse, and I don't like that. If he's your manager, back him or sack him.
I agree. I totally agree. But for me, you've got. Listen, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fascinating. I think there's a couple of players who need to make decisions, a few managers who need to make decisions on players, a few clubs who I think have got a little bit who've not spent in previous years, and obviously people come to the end of contracts as well. So you know, what I mean, there's like you just said there, Aguero's a free transfer. So where will he end up? It'll be interesting.
It'd be very interesting, mate. Right, to finish off, people can ask us questions. Donna asked a question earlier on, which I said I was going to save. It was about the FA Cup, and I'm just hoping it hasn't got off my screen now. It's right at the top. But guys, 10, 15 minutes now, we'll answer questions. Bit of a different show this week, even than what we planned. We haven't stuck to anything we planned either, but it's fine. We just had a chat, and we'll be back to the championship and the hustle and bustle of that next week. Just looking at the results from the championship, mate, today, a few disappointing ones for us personally. Anything else sort of stand out for you results-wise?
Watford stood out. I thought it was another win, another little bit closer to Norwich. Obviously, Norwich letting a last-minute goal in. Barnsley and Red a little bit later. I'm not sure if that's a good result or a bad result for each side, because it doesn't do either any good. I think probably the standout result for me today was Bournemouth. I think obviously they needed to win to get in the playoffs. I thought they were fantastic. They were far better than Middlesbrough. The big players stood up today and got them closer to that playoff place. They were in the playoffs until Reading got that point, but now they've got a game in hand. They've got 7 games left. It's going to be fascinating. There's going to be some turns. Obviously, Swansea are playing tonight against Birmingham. They need to win to close the gap on Watford and Norwich, because obviously Norwich slipped up, but it'd be interesting if they can do it. I still can't see the top 2 falling apart. I still think that, for me, they're set in stone and playoffs. You know what I mean? I know we spoke about that before, but for me, they're 4 in the playoffs. Swansea will be in there. Brentford will be in there. Bournemouth will be in there. And one over. And I don't know.
So
it's going to be fascinating.
I've lost Donna's question. because it's gone off my screen because we've had so many comments. But it was basically, she has just reminded me. Basically, it said the 4,000 fans that are going to be at the FA Cup semi-final. I think this was the gist of it. They all have to come from the Wembley postcode area. I think that's right, Dollar.
Yep.
If it's not, then
Yep. Yeah, is it?
correct me. But I think that's the question. That's ludicrous, mate. That is so.
It's pointless.
Ridiculous. Well, who was in that semi-final? Remind me.
Watford. Was it Watford against Southampton?
Yeah, I don't think there's many Southampton fans living in the Wembley area, is there? Like, you could argue that there might be some Watford fans.
Yeah, I don't know if it is Watford. Definitely Southampton. I seen it the other day, but like for me, if you're letting 4,000 fans in, then Leicester, Southampton. If you're letting 4,000 fans in, then for me, give it to school kids who don't get an opportunity to go and watch a game of football and let them in
for a year.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. They've had no education for a year. Let them go with the teachers. One teacher or two teachers can look after the class. Let them go and enjoy a game of football. Can believe before some might have never been to a game of football before. Let them go and enjoy it, because if they're letting Joe Public in and they're selling tickets to make a little bit of money, forget about that. You know what I mean? They're letting 4,000 people in to test and to see if it's safe. Let some kids in.
They so you're saying they should just let them go with the teachers? Do you mean teachers from the Middlesbrough area as well? Like just teachers from the Middlesbrough area?
North East. Yeah, I've got some kids who love to go. But now, listen, for me, it's about give people an opportunity who've had a, you know what I mean. I'll give it to the NHS. Let nurses go. Let the nurses go. I'm happy. Listen, I'm not. I just think.
Could give it to NHS workers, couldn't you?
Too right, they could. They've done it before in other countries. So 4,000 of them. If they're not on shift that Saturday or Sunday, whatever time it is, then there's a free ticket.
Yeah, 100%. Cade says, "Have you got any stories on Gustavo Lombardi at Boro and why he never played, and another Marinelli flop?" I think that says.
Yeah, well, to be honest, Gustavo was he was technically just very good, probably too good for what we had at the time, and I'll go on about Carlos in a minute, but Lombardi was a footballer, and I think he came at the wrong time and played some reserve games, didn't really fit in, didn't really suit the way that we played. It was more long ball, getting frustrated, and probably says so. No interesting stories. He used to just fling his arms in the air, like the South America. Be a lot of arm flailing and expletives coming out the mouth, which was quite funny. But for me, Carlos Marinelli, I've never come across anybody technically in my football career who was better than him. He was you know what I mean. He was touted to be the new Messi, and I'd never seen Messi at the time. And obviously when he was a young player, like the new Maradona, and some of the things that he used to do with the football, he used to just make you just stand there, just gobsmacked, mouth open, jaw hitting the floor, because he didn't really settle into England in Middlesbrough, and then ended up. I think he went over to Italy or went over to Spain, then ended up going back home and playing for Boca Juniors. But such a talented player, it's probably too quick, too soon, maybe.
Yeah. Reese says, Andy, do you still suffer from any injuries now when you're playing?
I suffer. I don't know if it's old age, but I suffer recovery. Listen, anybody else that if people play 5-a-side or play 11-a-side, it probably takes me till about Wednesday or Thursday to recover. I'm back playing football tomorrow, actually, for the over 40s, so that should be fun-ish, I think. So I'll tell you on Monday it won't be great, but I know how to manage my body now, which I didn't when I was younger. If that makes sense, I know how to manage myself going up to a game. I know how to manage myself when I'm going for a run. I've got to drink tons of water. I've got to manage my own body. I don't, you know what I mean. It's strange, isn't it? You know, I spent the whole football career drinking alcohol, and then I retire and I don't drink. So it's like I'm doing things the wrong way around, yeah. But I think when you get older, you become healthier. I can't handle like hangovers anymore when you've got kids and stuff. Different lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Okay, what we got else? Let's have a look. Some nice comments. And a big thank you again to David Giles, by the way, who joined us on Monday. I filmed an episode of my story with David yesterday. So we booked it in for 7, and he came on Zoom, and he said, "Oh, have you got got a chance for a quick chat before we start?" And me and David sat there for 45 minutes talking, and then we did the show about his career and stuff. But he was, when I say like he was so happy with how the show went, I couldn't do it justice. He was so complimentary about the show, myself, Andy particularly, and all you guys as well who watched and asked questions. He really enjoyed it. He was really impressed. So
did he work Zoom? Did he work Zoom better?
No, he got his son to do it. But he's just a lovely guy, and I will definitely be keeping in touch with David. He was such a gentleman, and
lovely.
Like I can't he gave me some advice and stuff yesterday about different things. He also said that me and you should have a Cardiff show on BBC Wales because they need a fresh, younger outlook. Is his words. So if that's what you guys think, tell BBC Wales. But I just thought there was a nice thing for him to say, and
listen, we've worked extremely hard to get where we are. You know what I mean? There's been some there's been some fallouts, there's been some massive highs. We've had some amazing shows. We've had some funny shows. We've had some frustrating ones. With obviously the joys of technology and Wi-Fi, etc. You know what I mean? People might not know. You know what I mean? The times that I think I went about 3 months where I couldn't hear a word what was being said on any show.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on. Yeah, you know what I mean. There was the connection was just so bad at my end. So every time when it came on, it didn't come on all the time, and on my end because I'd catch a snippet of a conversation, and I would have to second guess what someone's just said, or so people must think sometimes that I'm just winging it or guessing it. But you know what I mean. Everything seems to have sorted out. I don't know if it was the social media company or whatever it was sorted out now, which is great. But we've had some amazing times on the show, and some great guests coming on. You know, obviously I told you the next 5 guests which you've booked to come on, and some are absolutely all of them are absolutely out of this world. You know, we've got Neil Bishop, played over 700 games in his career, played against Juventus, scored against Man City, so he's got a great story to tell. Obviously, he's transitioned out of football as well. He's just came out of football recently. I'm not sure what his plans on the boots back on, but it'll be really interesting. Really looking forward to talking to him tomorrow because he's a northeast lad, Middlesbrough lad, born and bred, but obviously moved away straight away as a younger lad to go and excel in football, and to digging deep into his career.
Sorry, mate. I was just chuckling along to myself with a couple of these questions, and I'm not going to shy away from them. So Rob Boyle says that we haven't even started the Kevin McNaughton show, which is on straight after this, so join us. But Rob says, obviously you can't name names, but have you had a guest and you've thought, what a so-and-so, what a dick? No, right, so from my point of view, there's not one guest we've had on here where I've thought, what a dick. There's been one guest which I didn't really enjoy and wasn't what I thought it was going to be. But that's nothing to do with them and more to do with how I had imagined it going. Apart from that's it, really, I'd say. Everyone else has been amazing.
I think we've been very selective on who we have on.
Couple we haven't.
There's been people
on as well, Mitch, because we didn't want to.
There's people demanded money, which is not happening. You know what I mean? That we don't take a penny from it. So why should we pay out of our own pocket to get people on? I think it should be like Neil. I just think it is what it is. We've absolutely worked our socks off to get it where it is. So I don't see why other people wouldn't want to jump on board and tell their story and give something back to football fans and things. And basically, that's all we do. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. Love it.
Indeed.
The easy said Neil there, couldn't
everyone's, a few people are saying saying Neil. Geraint says he wants your dad on. Donna says
get me
they've
dad
all
on
seemed
that.
really nice. And I got to say, everybody has seemed really nice. Reese has said there was only one guest he wasn't a fan of, and he said he came across as a bit boring. But that's no way to talk about Andy. I got to say, it's really rude.
Yeah, I'm on every week.
But Reese says, I do wonder if you did end up moving to something like BBC, would it still be the same format for us fans to ask questions and chat along? So, or like it's nothing which is happening, like it's just something which came up in conversation. The only thing I could see us doing on something like BBC Wales, say, is like a Cardiff City show, which was a phone-in or something like that. So you'd still get those questions and you'd chat to people. Obviously, it wouldn't be in video format and stuff like that. But like I've said to Andy before, the big sort of stopping thing in any of these conversations with anyone would be if they asked us to stop doing podcasts. Like they'd have to pay us quite big to stop us doing. So like if they wanted the Andy Campbell Football Show, just that, but then they said you can't do the Championship Show on a Friday, for me that's a bit of a stumbling block. So I don't know, it is what it is. It's all hypothetical, mate, isn't it?
Oh, listen, there's this is something that I wanted to do when you asked me to do it. We're going back when we first started. I can't remember how long it was. It's been a while. And for me, it's helped my confidence. It's helped me understand social media a little bit better instead of using it for the bad. I think interacting with people. Having a conversation with people, I think it's great, and I think it's great for the interaction part. You know what I mean? That you can have a conversation. I'm even starting to contemplate doing one of those daft things what Kev does on Instagram about and stuff. Obviously, did a live on Facebook, and I don't mind. You know what I mean? About interacting with people and doing things on a certain way, but it's just more to get the show out there a little bit more and to various people and to increase the news for people to watch. I think the guests over the next 5 weeks are going to certainly help that. You know what I mean? Mondays is great, and the feedback we've got so far from people who've known Neil all his life and support his throughout his career. You know what I mean? Straight away, Notts County supporters groups and Mansfield and all the teams that he played. So I'm expecting some different viewers, some really good questions on Monday, but the ones coming up are really good guests with great stories. One in particular, I'm not going to give the game away. One in particular has played at the top level. He's played in a high-profile game and has had a very what a wonderful life, and he's got a great story to tell. So I'm really intrigued for that one.
Yeah, and when I get my backside in gear and launch the Patreon, I'm going to do stuff like pre-shows as well. So like half-hour, like pre-shows before the shows, and there's lots of different stuff, including we're getting closer to a date for the live show, shall we say, but still can't do anything concrete because of COVID and stuff. But we're getting there. We're nearly at the point where we can actually talk to each other about it rather than just in text, I think, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, we're getting there, aren't we? It's just making it light and to happen. It's you know what I mean. There's all these plans that we want to do. You know, I mean, the live show I think will be a corker. It's just getting the right format of how to do it, getting the right people there. Because if it's got to be right for everyone. Because we want as many people there as we can. It's got to be done proper.
Indeed, mate. It's going to be interesting. What I will say to finish us off, mate, is around November will be the 500th episode of Ace Podcast Nation. It'll also be my 40th birthday. So, you know, just saying now that's got nothing to do with the previous conversation. It's just that they happen to follow it. Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. Always enjoy these Friday night shows, and in some ways, as much as I love talking Championship, I like these free for alls as well, where we can interact with you guys a bit more and we can have a chat. And I hope you've all enjoyed it. All I will say now is I'm gonna go and have a cup of coffee and then join Super Kev for 1 hour of Kev Unscripted. It's going to be good. We haven't done it for a few weeks. We're going to chat about any and everything. It's going to be fun. Join us and have a bit of a giggle to finish off the evening. But most of all, thank you to everyone. And I'd like to say a special thank you to Neil Campbell and Martin Spate for their just phenomenal questions throughout the show. Getting involved. And I'm sure they're totally not drinking as we speak now and having a couple of beers. But Andy, a pleasure as always, mate. I love it, mate.
Yeah, look, yeah, and I will. We'll catch you Monday for an amazing show with
It'll be a
Neil B.
blockbuster.
Yeah,
Indeed. Yeah, and keeping it real tomorrow is I've already recorded that, and Sunday another episode of My Story, which is a really personal one for me because it's with one of my oldest friends and gets emotional. Guys, you're legends. We will see you Monday. Don't be late.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you. I belong to you. Do just what you want. You're the one I trust. And I always be around when I need some loving, baby. No one else.
Yeah.
Let you down.